She used me to escape her past, then blamed me for everything. She said I saved her life. She said I helped her start over. Then one day she said I ruined everything. But the truth, she never wanted peace. She wanted power. Hey everyone, we're just beginning this journey, so please consider helping us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you. Now, let's get back to the story. I met her on a rainy Wednesday in early spring, the kind of day that smells like regret and pavement. I had just finished signing the paperwork for my father's estate. It was a long, cold chapter. He hadn't been a great man, but he'd been my man, my anchor. And losing him, even after all the years of silence, cut deeper than I expected. I stopped into a bookstore cafe to kill time before driving home. That's where I saw her. She was curled in the corner seat, damp curls falling over her face, typing furiously on a laptop with a chipped corner. Her coffee had long gone cold. We didn't talk that day. But I came back the next week, then again the next, always pretending to browse. She noticed, eventually she smiled, and that's how it started. Her name was Lana. She had a soft voice with an edge, like silk over steel. She said she was in transition, leaving a bad relationship, a bad town, a bad version of herself. I lost years, she said once, sipping tea like it held secrets. But I'm done losing. She talked about trauma, about survival, about sleeping in her car after escaping her ex. She said she didn't trust people easily, but something about me made her feel safe. And I, broken, exhausted, starved for connection, believed her. I offered to help in small ways. Rides, meals, a heater for her apartment when her landlord ignored her calls. She never asked. That's what made it feel honest. But now I know, silence can be its own kind of manipulation. By the end of month 2, we were inseparable. She moved in with me temporarily when her lease unexpectedly ended. She was sweet, grateful. She cooked with jazz playing low in the background and kissed me between chopping onions. I've never felt this safe, she whispered one night in bed. I believed her. I introduced her to my friends, cautiously at first. She was nervous around them, unsure, but always kind, always charming. One night she told me she wanted to work again, something meaningful. So I reached out to my friend Jonah, who ran a nonprofit. He brought her on part-time. She cried when she got the offer. I feel like I finally matter, she said. And I, naive, hopeful, finally useful, was just glad to see her smile. I didn't see the setup coming. Not yet. The months that followed felt like sunlight through fog, warm but not quite clear. We made traditions. Tuesday takeout, Sunday hikes, nights with wine and documentaries about unsolved crimes. She laughed easily, touched me often, left notes in my coat pocket that said things like, "Thank you for seeing me," or "You make breathing feel safe." We didn't fight, not really, but every now and then, she'd get quiet, distant. I'd ask if something was wrong, and she'd say, "You're just too good to me. It scares me." That felt like love. I didn't realize it was guilt. One night after dinner with friends, she curled into me and whispered, "They don't really get you, do they?" "What do you mean?" She traced a finger down my arm. "They treat you like the dependable one, like a background character in your own story." I laughed, but something about the way she said it made me feel seen. "They don't deserve your loyalty," she added, almost too quietly. It sounded like protection, but it was isolation in disguise. And I let it in because I thought love meant loyalty at any cost. Part 5, the isolation. The shift was slow, subtle, like frost creeping along a window pane. First, she didn't want to go to Jonah's parties anymore. "They're too loud, too performative," she'd say. Then she questioned why I still talked to my sister every Sunday. She never liked me, you know that, right? Eventually, my social circle narrowed to her. Just her. When I pointed it out once, half joking, she laughed. "You're an introvert anyway. Now you don't have to pretend." And I believed it, because by then I'd started seeing the world through her filter. Everyone else was either fake, envious, or quietly rooting against us. That's the thing about control. It doesn't always come with raised voices or slammed doors. Sometimes it comes in whispers that sound like love. The first real fight was about groceries. I came home with the wrong brand of oat milk. She stared at the bag, then at me. Do you even listen when I talk? I blinked. It's oat milk. She didn't yell. She just looked disappointed. You make me feel invisible. That night, she slept on the couch, and I stayed up Googling emotional invalidation. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened, but something had. I started noticing her phone was always face down. Passwords changed. Late night walks became more frequent. Her mood shifted like weather. But each time I asked, she had a reason. Or worse, a hurt look. Why don't you trust me? That question always shut me down. Because love is supposed to be about trust, right? Right? It started with space. Or rather, her asking for it. I just need a few days to think, she said, packing a bag. I feel like I'm losing myself. I nodded, tried to be understanding. She stayed with a friend, or so she said. When she came back, she was different, colder, sharper, more distant, and yet more controlling. She criticized more, laughed less. One night she said, "Sometimes I think you only help me so you could feel needed." That cut deep, because maybe it was a little true, but even truths can be used like knives. And that was the moment I realized I wasn't in love anymore. I was in survival mode. It was a Thursday when it all came crashing down. She called me at work, voice trembling. I need to talk. Tonight. I came home to candles lit, dinner made, her hair curled just like when we first met. She didn't eat. Instead, she sat me down and said the words I'll never forget. You've been emotionally abusive. My mouth opened. No words came out. I feel like I've been walking on eggshells, she continued, her eyes glassy. You twist things. You make me feel small. I was stunned. Not angry, just stunned. Because if anyone had been shrinking, it was me. But here she was, spinning it. And I could already tell this wasn't a conversation. It was a setup. By the following week, she was gone. So was half the furniture. And so were my friends, at least the ones we had in common. They stopped replying. One unfollowed me the day after she left. I heard whispers that I'd mistreated her, isolated her, and that she was finally brave enough to leave. The irony. Even Jonah texted me once. I don't know what happened, but if it's true, man, I'm disappointed. I didn't respond. What could I say? Lana was a master storyteller, and now the story was about me. I stopped sleeping. I lost weight. I thought about reaching out to her just to understand. But I knew better. I was no longer the man who saved her. I was the villain in her origin story. Weeks passed, then months. I went quiet. I saw a therapist. I stopped trying to defend myself to people who had already chosen a side. And somewhere in the silence, I started asking better questions. How did I let this happen? Why did I ignore the signs? What was I so desperate to fix in her that I stopped protecting myself? It wasn't about blame anymore. It was about clarity. Because I couldn't rewrite the past, but I could learn how to never live like that again. Therapy wasn't a magic fix, but it was the first time in years I sat across from someone and told the bomb. Not the curated version, not the edited for public consumption story, but the raw, painful, confusing mess. And I wasn't judged. I was met with silence, with understanding, with, let's sit in that for a minute. I learned how to name what happened. It wasn't weakness. It wasn't just a bad breakup. It was emotional abuse, identity erosion, gaslighting. I started to rebuild small things, my routines, my sleep, my physical health. I went back to the gym, started cooking for myself again, not to impress, but to nourish. And slowly I realized I wasn't trying to get back to who I used to be. I was building someone entirely new. One night, unable to sleep, I searched her name. Not her real one, her alias. The one she used on forums and profiles she didn't think I'd ever find. It led me to a blog, an anonymous blog filled with posts from a survivor of male control and narcissistic love bombing. She was writing about me, but here's the twist. She had older posts long before me about other men, nearly identical stories, different names, same phrases, different abusers, same victim. Except the timelines didn't add up. The locations overlapped. The dates contradicted what she'd told me. It hit me then. This wasn't her first story. It was just her next one. She didn't escape a villain. She made one. I didn't blast anything online. I didn't call mutual friends. I didn't try to clear my name. Instead, I hired a lawyer. She helped me untangle the financial knots Lana had left behind. We found expenses hidden under shared accounts. Charges to platforms I didn't recognize. Money was siphoned with just enough subtlety that it could have been a mistake. We built a paper trail. We closed accounts. We set boundaries, legal ones. Then I quietly reached out to Jonah. I didn't defend myself. I just said, if you want to know the truth, I'll show you. He came over the next day. I laid out the documentation. He sat in silence, then said, damn, I didn't see it. Neither did I replied. That was enough. It was 6 months after she left when I ran into her again. Grocery store, frozen foods aisle. I almost didn't recognize her. She looked polished, expensive. Her expression, shock, then performance. Hey, she said, as if we were old classmates. Hey, a pause. You look good, she offered. Thanks. She studied me for a second. I'm glad you're okay, really? Are you? She didn't answer, just smiled and looked down at her cart, full of pre-made meals and red wine. I heard you're seeing someone, she said. I raised an eyebrow. And I heard you're still writing blog posts. That ended it. She left without saying goodbye. The new life didn't come all at once. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. I moved to a smaller apartment, got an eye, read more, learned how to make real bread from scratch, reconnected with my sister. Jonah and I talk again, not like before, but honest, grounded. I sleep through the night now. I stopped trying to prove anything. I stopped seeking apologies I'd never get. And in that space, I found something better than closure. Peace. It came as a message request. Just wondering if we could talk sometime. I owe you that much. I stared at it for a long time. Not with anger, just curiosity. There was a time I would have jumped at that message, hoped it meant truth, redemption, maybe even love. But I knew better now. I didn't open it. I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked the sender and turned off my phone and took my dog for a walk. I sometimes wonder what she wanted to say. Maybe it was a half apology wrapped in justification. Maybe it was a test to see if I still bent when she whispered. But I never found out, because silence can be an answer too. She made me question everything, my judgment, my loyalty, and my worth. But she also showed me what I would never accept again. That's the strange gift of pain. It teaches. I didn't hate her. I just refused to carry her story any further. It's been over a year now. The people who matter are still here. Some came back, others never left. I no longer explain what happened. I no longer feel the need to be believed. She told the world I broke her. The truth is, she tried to erase me, but I'm still here, and I finally see myself clearly. She used me to escape her past, but I used the wreckage to build my future. That's the last word, and I get to keep it.